How would you love to see yourself get married and enjoy that marriage and be happy in it and never have any regrets? Today, I'm just going to give you 5 things to watch out for when choosing a spouse, whether you're a man or a woman. But sometimes, because it's like, most times it's like the women are like the victims in the situation, we try to emphasize on the women. But the fact of the matter is that these things I want to tell us today are very critical. There is a time called courtship. What is courtship supposed to be? Courtship is supposed to be a time of discoveries. I've had some people say, oh, when you marry, you begin to discover yourselves. Please, that's very risky because there are things you may not be able to live with. And those things are better discovered during courtship. There are things you can live with. So I always advise people, please, during that season of courtship, what are you supposed to do? Make sure you engage your head more than your heart. Because if you engage your heart much during the courtship, you will likely not be able to do the assessment correctly because emotions and everything will override reasoning. And that time is supposed to be a time of reasoning. Remember, this is a lifetime association. It's a lifetime association unless you are planning to have a disposable marriage. But that's not my wish for you. Your marriage is not going to be disposable. You're going to enjoy it. Now, number one thing which you are going to watch out for and be cautious about is when you notice someone you don't share the same values with. What do I mean by that? You discover, for example, there's somebody, maybe you're a very prayerful person, you love God, you want to be praying always, and you now go and marry somebody who's the very much party type. You want to pray and he wants to go to parties. Conflict may begin. Values, value, very important, critically. Please make sure that you people have the same values. Number 2, very critical thing is be careful not to marry a selfish person. There are people who are very selfish. You'll notice it, but emotions will blind it. If you're not ready to live with it, make sure you don't marry a selfish person. Because many times in relationships, what begins to happen? Those things that begin to play out, selfishness. Now, the third thing, you must be very, very careful. Please, as you're listening to this, I want you to take note. The third person you must be very careful about are people who think they're always right. People who think they're always right. So, they're not ready to listen to anything. They're not ready to listen to superior argument. They're not ready to make adjustments to their lives. That is also a signal you have to watch out for. Number 4, people you have to be very critical about. People who don't ever see good things. You're around them, so many good things will be happening. The other things they're going to notice are the bad ones. This is also something to watch out. Then finally, very critically, never marry a wicked or a mean person. Sometimes when we associate with people, we notice these traits. Maybe they're doing it to somebody else and you feel because it doesn't concern you. When you're coming, you might become the victim of that. So even if it's being done to somebody else. But the critical thing I want to say is this. Like I've said, there are tests to run to make sure you are able to discover these things early during that courtship. There are tests to run. And that's why some of the reasons why we run some of the master classes we run, some of the training programs we run, for you to be able to give you the test, the real parameters you can put in place to be able to know whether somebody has these traits. Because marriage is a lifetime thing, like I said, and it's something very, very serious. So if you're able to put those tests in place, you'll be able to know and discover somebody who has these traits. Some of them have these traits, and at that point, you now find out that, come on, I can't handle this. So that if you want to make up your mind to marry, you have made up your mind, and that means you knew, so you'll be able to make adjustments. Subscribe to our channel. We'll be able to get tips that will ensure you do the right thing and your marriage will be very, very enjoyable. You can also look out for and register for our masterclass. I know there will be a link in the description. You can register for our masterclasses where we'll be able to give you information on the things you can put in place, the tests you can put in place to make sure you get the right person. You will not marry the wrong person. In Jesus' name.